I'm having some major internet issues, sadly, with upload speed. That's going to get fixed tomorrow. So I might not be able to get the recording sent to you soon, but it should be within the next 2 days. You should have it if that works for you. Okay, so let's start with this. What got you interested in coaching?
I've basically been the same rank for all of Overwatch. I wanted to A, improve, and B, improve the way I see how I lose the game, if that makes sense.
Yep. Okay, makes sense. What rank are you at right now?
I'm Diamond 3 right now.
Okay, makes sense. Diamond 3, and you've been the same rank since you've started, and how long have you been playing the game?
Season 4 of Overwatch 1.
Okay. So why do you think that is? Is it just you've not applied yourself as seriously, or you've had some things that have gotten you stuck, or a little bit of everything, or you're not sure?
Right now, I think it's an issue with mental and my consistency.
Okay.
I actually keep a log of all the games I do, and like if you just looked at it, I would usually see like 6 or 5 losses in a row without me like stopping or taking a break. Just really like going negative. Like this last set I think I lost 7 in a row, and I just didn't stop playing. I just kept playing.
So how long have you been keeping this log?
I keep one for each season.
Okay. And how long you've been doing that?
Since season 1 or 2, I believe, of this Overwatch 2.
Okay. What got you started doing that?
I just like data.
Why is that? Is that your job or something you study or what?
No, I just like to look at it.
Okay, makes sense.
I also have my because I have received coaching before, and I
Sure.
actually see that you're in the server of the coach I normally go to, Stars Filth.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I haven't been. So I did a little bit of coaching with him, and I did reach Masters, but I fall in and out of it so frequently that I basically just feel like I'm stuck at the moment.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so why do you think that is? Because obviously you've put a lot of time into the game. You keep logs. You have received coaching, and you've been stuck for quite some time. So why do you think that is? If you had to guess, because obviously you've at least, I'm sure you've thought about this, because I've been in that situation before too. I was hard stuck Diamond for like 2 seasons a long time ago, when I was in it felt like I was really applying myself and just nothing was changing, and so there was like definitely some soul searching that happened there. So what have you found?
Right now, I think the biggest mental queuing, like my friends be like, yo, you got to get off, like you've lost like 5 in a row, and I'll be like, nope, I'm not getting off, like I'll just keep playing. And then I'll go like very negative, so I'll just drop. Like I dropped from Masters 3 to Diamond 3 basically in the span of a week.
Okay.
Because of how much I'm just playing, and
okay.
Like I'm trying to ignore the rank, and I just want to improve, but it's hard to just look past it sometimes.
Yeah. Now, what have you tried? Because obviously you're aware that this is an issue, and maybe this has been an issue for you for quite some time. Have you tried to do anything to work with this or to improve this?
I'll try. Sometimes I'll try if you lose 3 in like 1 session, then I'll hop off. Or if I'm just not feeling good about it, then I'll just hop off anyways. And I'll try to aim train before I play any games.
Has that helped? Have you been able to stick with any of that?
The mental, I don't know, but at least my consistent, like I'll hop on and then like I'll miss everything. So instead I'll just do some Kovacs before I play.
Okay.
That helps a little bit, at least I'm warmed up.
Okay. Makes sense. Now, when you talk about this data log, how does this work? Tell me about it.
It's just a Google Excel sheet, or Google spreadsheet, and just every time I win a game, I'll put a W. If I lose, I'll just put an L, and I just basically it's like just a log, and then it just keeps track of my win percentage, and then how long it took me to finish it.
Yeah.
So the date at which I finished it, and just the percentage at which rank I go up, because it's very like slow.
Yeah.
Ranking back up. And then I have like my own personal notes for what I think my issues are, and then just some of the notes that I have with Star.
Okay.
As well.
Okay. And when you keep some of these notes, what are some of these notes? Like, what are some points of improvement you've been working at?
I can actually. I'll just take a screenshot of what I have right now.
That would be awesome.
And then I'll also show you my last season's notes.
Okay, let's see here. Issues with consistency, finding angle to crossfire and better ultimate usage. Now, when you say issues with consistency, was that something that you've diagnosed but don't really know what you're going to do with?
I think that was mostly me, like, hopping on, like, I play one quick play game, but then I'm still, like, not warmed up. So then I'll go into a match and lose because I'm not ready to, like, play competitive yet.
Right, so issues with consistency was more of the make sure that we're actually warmed up before we play kind of a thing.
Right, and then the next screenshot I showed you was what I had from the end of last season.
Okay, let's take a look at this here. So continue to check dueling sightlines for those who have LOS in you. Keep practicing Wood of Sojourn. Take advantage of the advantage that you have. Take note of the advantage that you have. Commit to a decision faster. Try to crossfire with other DPS. Play to win and don't play passively to not die. Constantly rotate after picks or flanking. Find a spot to deal damage. Move when it comes to safe where you cannot deal meaningful damage to anybody. What's the difference between these sets of notes? The first one you sent me, the set D3 21%, and the season 4 notes. What's the difference between these two sets?
So the season 4 is it was the start of this season, so right before the season started, and this one I just wrote yesterday.
Okay, so these are like the more up to date, and those were more of the conclusion of the season. Okay. This is a lot of things. How do you prioritize these in a match?
We kind of group a few of them together.
Like what?
The mental ones you. Like finding, let's see, crossfire, that was an issue that I had. Like I would just stay main with the team when I could be flanking, because I mainly play soldier. So that's definitely a hero that I could find crossfires with better.
Sure.
And then just like priority targets, like I think I kind of just group those two together.
Okay.
Because if I went with crossfire, I could probably find a better target than just the
shield
or the tank.
Sure. And then you focus on that for the game or the day, or how does that work?
That was the thing that Star had asked me. He said, how do you prioritize what thing you should work on? He's like, oh, you should work on one or two things and then watch your VODs and see if you like actually applied it.
Sure.
So what I've been trying to focus on lately was the crossfire thing. Like taking a better angle. Like the last coaching session I had, I told him, I was like, oh fuck, all I could feel like I could do was shoot shield. And he watched my VOD. He's like, well, that's because what you set yourself up to do. You stood main, and only person in front of you was the Reinhardt, so you showed the Reinhardt instead of going to find a different angle.
Right.
Your soldier can easily find that angle. So that was something that I've been thinking about.
Okay. And how have you been doing at that? Have you been improving at that?
So one, I try to, if there's a time to do it, I'll try to rotate and flank, but also try to do it when my team is engaging at the same time, because if you do it too early, then you're gonna feed. If you do it too late, then it's meaningless.
Right, exactly. Okay, makes sense. Now, you said you do these notes because you find them, you enjoy data, and also you find that, I mean, obviously you find it useful for you to be able to keep track of the things that you're working at. Now, what I find interesting is that you're not only using your data for that, though. You're using your data to track your rank, your win percentage, and all these other things as well. Correct? Now, why do you do that? Is it just satisfying, fun, interesting to you?
Yeah, I just like doing. I've done it for the last 4 seasons. It just helps me like visualize like what's the I'm a visual learner.
Sure.
So like writing it down just helps me.
Okay. I think a lot of people would benefit from that. But what are you writing down? The win or the loss, or more than that?
So I started doing at first the win or the loss, who I'm grouped with, like what role they're playing, and I also did the server because I used to play with a lot of I think it's in my thing, but I would play with multiple different regions, which kind of messed me up a bit.
Sure.
Because some days I'd be playing on 30 ping, some days I'd be playing on 230, which not the best. So I've been strictly playing NA, since I moved back.
Okay.
And I kind of didn't really put the roles anymore, so right now it's just win-loss. I mean, if you want, I can share the document with you. If you want the link.
I think I'm okay for now. I might ask for it later, though. I guess here's a question for you. You say, like, you're so obsessed with, okay, you know, you don't want to be focusing on the win-loss. You definitely have a problem with the win-loss streaks and like your mentality around it. But the problem is what you're saying and what you're doing contradict each other. Because you're right, you're not only looking at it, but you're keeping specific set data points that track it and put priority on it. And not only that, but there is nothing else in this data set besides that. Like, the problem here is that you have all these beautiful notes of all these little points, but you're not actually really tracking your improvement at them at all.
Right.
So, like, my point is this, all right? Let's say that you were trying to, like, improve at baseball, right? And you're like a 10-year-old kid. Your dad goes in the backyard and starts hitting grounders to you. You know what a grounder is, right?
I think so, yeah.
Ground ball, right? So he starts hitting, he hits 50 ground balls in a row. And the number of ground balls that you let go past you, you keep track in a data form, all right? And you get, the first day you get like, you let 20 out of 50 get behind you, right? So your dad's gonna keep track of that. He's gonna do it every day. That weekend, you have 2 baseball games. You track your dad, instead of tracking how many ground balls that you let between your legs, instead he tracks whether you won or lost the baseball game. And so you go out in the backyard and you practice ground balls and you go track, and your dad tracks how you're doing at ground balls basically off of how you're winning. You see how that's a little bit short-sighted? What should you be tracking if you're going to track anything?
Well, I've thought about it, and I actually have another friend who also keeps data, but the reason why they won or lost a game, I feel like, because I try to VOD review at least once or twice a week.
Sure.
So maybe going over those VODs, especially like those really bad losses, could...
That would be a much better data point to track, right? Now, I understand that it's not as easy as a ground ball going between your legs. You know, how do you track that you had good positioning and you didn't have good positioning? It's really hard, right? However, here's what I would suggest, okay? You just played a ranked game, Soldier 76 on Numbani, okay? How are you at thinking about your positioning? Were you able to keep your focus on your positioning and take an experiment with good angles on a scale of 1 through 4? 1 being I was totally, completely oblivious, forgot. 4, I was totally zoned in, right? 2, somewhere in between. 3, somewhere in between, right? That's the point you need to track. How engaged and focused on what I needed to be working on and how much experimentation and practice did I get out of it. Once you do that, you could also have another point where you could say, what was my energy / my my attitude, my tilt level, right? Again, 1 through 4. Was I very focused and like relatively objective, or did I start to get tilted, right? Those are data points you need to track. Because if you're tracking data points, the whole point is to find data that's useful to you to actually find trends that are going to help you to win, right? If all you're doing is tracking the win or loss, but you're not actually tracking what's going to get you to win or lose more, then what's the point of tracking the data?
I see your point.
It's like if a politician's trying to run for president, right? And all people go is they give him the polls, but they give him no solutions about what to do with those poll numbers. Like there's no action that you could take, then what's the point, right? So for you, my point is that whether the server that you're playing on, the win-loss, whatever else, like I don't care if you track win-loss, like that's, but it also needs to be how focused was I able at my positioning, like how was, what was, or you could even write in like, okay, here's an idea, ready for this one? Let me type this in your channel. Here's my suggestion, all right? And you could do this as you will, all right? Win or loss, all right? Level of intensity on focus. In other words, how focused was I at thinking about X, right? Whatever X is, right? Focus topic, positioning, cooldown usage, timing, whatever, right? Whatever you were focusing on, there you go, right? Because here's the thing, do you need to focus on one thing for a week necessarily? No. You could focus on one thing for a game. You could go into a game in Numbani and be like, dude, I really suck in positioning in this map. I need to experiment with positioning in this map. You go play the Numbani game. You have a lot of intensity on your focus. You do a great job and you're practicing that positioning. So you say level of intensity on focus, 4. Focus topic, positioning. Lost though, we lost 2-3. You get what I'm saying? And then finally, I would say tilt / mentality, and you can do this whatever you want with, but like, how annoyed, frustrated was I during the game. And on that game, it was a 1. You weren't focused, or you weren't tilted or distracted at all. And what you'll notice is there will be an inverted relationship between level of intensity and focus and your tilt/mentality. Some games you'll be a little bit tilted, but you're able to keep good focus. Most games where you're pretty tilted, you're going to have a hard time keeping focus. And I think that's what you want to track. Now, if you want to get super fancy with it, here's another thing to track. This would be a daily thing, all right? Daily. How much sleep did I get the night before? Or how tilted, frustrated, distracted was I before I sat down? Or how long did I warm up? You know? And what you'll also notice over time is that maybe your tilt/mentality as you play more and more games slowly starts to dip, right? Slowly you start to get more and more and more frustrated, or I guess the number starts to climb. You see that? That would be something interesting to track. Now, here's a question. Why do you think your tilt or mentality will slowly start to crash? Because you always talk about like, oh, I have a hard time ending, and I usually like go like 5 or 6. Why don't you go on 5 or 6 wins at the end of a play session? Why is it almost always losses?
Probably because your tilt is going up and your focus is going down because you're focusing on the tilting, not the game itself.
You get more tired, you get more distracted. The longer you play, the more likely that you're able to, like, let's put it this way, all right? Let's look at, this is kind of a juvenile way of describing it, but why don't we look at tilt as a mental injury, right? The longer you play, the more likely you're going to get injured. That's just the nature of sports. I remember it was inevitable in football seasons. People, the longer the season went, towards the end of the season, people were tired, they were banged up, they were beat up, they're not getting enough sleep. People started to get injured more often. And I think that that's the case with tilt as well. So the longer you play, the more vulnerable you are to getting tilted or frustrated, right? So for you, it might be about finding that sweet spot where before you even get tilted, you talk about, I have a hard time knowing, like, being able to stop. How about you find the sweet spot where you're able to stop before you even get to that point? Or you start to learn and think about and practice preventative action as much as reactive action. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All I'm saying with you right now is a lot of time is spent on something that's really providing you next to no benefit whatsoever. And I understand that it's fun, but surely we can make the fun aspect still there, but also actually make it more productive. Because all you're telling me is like all these like little details, and they're not doing anything for you. Like, let's be honest, right? You're still stuck diamond. So
yeah,
something's got to change.
Right.
And I think making your data productive and pushing it, letting it push you into a more productive direction will be helpful. And also, you need to do some soul searching about this tilt queue thing, because how often does this happen?
I think it's so each season it seems pretty consistent. If I look back at all my spreadsheets, I'll start the season off extremely strong because so at the end of each season it seems like I derank to like high diamond. So right now I'm diamond 3.
Yeah.
So the start of next season I'll just go on a crazy win streak where I'm like 80% win rate on everything, and I climb back to masters like extremely easily. So I feel good about it. And then near the tail end of the season I start just having bad game. Not the game is bad, but I'm not doing good. So if I look at all my data sets, like everything, because I peak green if it's a positive win rate and red if it's not, and it's just completely green at the beginning, and then near the end it'll start going like really poorly.
Now that's useful to know, isn't it? That's really useful to know, because
it's very consistent.
So so here's the thing: you have the stats, you have the information. Draw your conclusions. Now, again, you don't know if this conclusion is 100% right, but you need to be a scientist about this, right? You need to draw a theory and go test that theory out with a scientific method. So what's your theory about why that's the case? Surely you have one.
I'm not going to say anything about the Overwatch matchmaker because right now I'm not trying to focus on that, but I'm going to say more than likely I'm more focused on what I should be improving on, and as the season goes on I get more, I want to say complacent, but I stop focusing on as much.
Sure. Sure.
And then once I start losing, I'll probably start deviating from those practices.
Here's my theory.
And then
No, go ahead.
Oh, that was it. I'm more focused at the start, and then near the end of it, I get like distracted.
I would agree with that. Now, that would be my theory as well. In addition to that, it's likely that you're in a very snowbally position to where when you're playing well, you're confident and you build off of that, right? Like, think about it. Like, let's say when you're not tilted, you're a Masters 4, Masters 3 player. If I put you in a Diamond 3 lobby when you're not tilted and you're just focused on improvement, you're going to absolutely dominate, right? That's going to snowball. You're going to get more and more confident, and then you're going to hit a ceiling, right? Where you are as good as the competition and you get about a 50% win rate. If you're not able to keep that mentality of improvement and being willing to dip up and down and up and down and up and down for a little while, then you're going to get tilted. And you're going to get tilted or frustrated because you're going to feel entitled to where you are, and you're going to be like, oh no, here we go again. And then all of a sudden that mentality of improvement is going to go out the window, and you're going to snowball really, really fast. The more you lose, the more you're likely to lose, until a point to where you drop so low that even when you're totally boomed, you can still win games, right? You kind of see what I'm saying? That's my theory. That's your theory. Question is just, what's the solution? Now we've talked a little bit about this already, but what do you think is a solution, or I guess what action needs to be taken here?
So I had 2 things in mind. Well, 3, but I think I need to warm up more, because if you start off your session with the loss, you're already starting downhill. So I think.
Well, no, let me pause you right there. What do you mean you're already starting downhill?
I mean, like, you get excited to play, or I mean, at least I do, but I'll be excited to play, like, I'll hop on with a friend or two, and then you just immediately start off with a loss. It doesn't feel great. Like, it would be better if you started on a win, but especially if you didn't win because you feel like you're not warmed up. Like, if you had a good loss, like, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you lost because, I'm not hitting any of my shots, I'm missing shots that I would normally hit because I'm not warmed up.
Okay, that's good. That's important. That's an important distinction right there, because you said, if we start off on a loss, that means that it might not go as well. And I'm already like, wait, really? Like, you're gonna say if we lose, that's already putting the day in a bat. Like, what a terrible mindset. However, you clarified that. You said, if it feels like it was a preventable loss, if I just simply done what I should have done, that makes a lot more sense, right? Because that's something that you can control. Now, if you feel warmed up and you go into a match and you focus on improvement and you still lose, but you're like, hey, it was still a productive match because I was warmed up and I was able to focus on what I needed to focus on, and if you still have a bad mindset about that, then that's something that you're going to need to revisit, right? However, that makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, so I'm with you on that one. Keep going. What else can you try? Or what else can you work on?
I used to do the 2 loss, or I think I said 3, 2 or 3 loss rule.
Okay.
2 in a row, then I would just pop off completely.
Okay. Okay.
And also just take better. Like, I have this great system of just notes, but I'm not doing enough. I could be doing more with it, because right now it's just kind of just that I'm losing, and that doesn't really help.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of work that's not doing anything for you, It feels like vastly inefficient, where like you're putting in more effort into tracking all these stats that don't do anything to help you improve. So for me, it's about cutting the fat. So let me go back just a little bit here. You said the 2 or 3 loss rule. I want to think about, like, okay, why is that important? Why is that important to you, the whole 2 or 3 loss rule? What's the purpose of that?
So just, I guess it's just a way to control, like, because more than likely, like, it doesn't have to be with everyone, because I know there's people who grind this game all day.
Yeah.
But more than likely, if you lose multiple games in a row, you're more likely to lose your focus and start tilting.
Yeah. So, no, let me stop you right there. The 2 to 3 loss rule is a rule that Coach Spilo will put out on his videos that he's going to put out to the Plat Scrubs. All right. Now, the reason why I would do that is because I don't know everybody's situation. I don't know everybody's mentality. And I'm not sitting over their shoulder telling them what to do. So I give them a general rule and I tell them to apply it in their own circumstances with what's needed. The problem with the 2 to 3 loss rule that you've given yourself is, once again, it's very similar to you tracking stats, where it's a very black and white thing, but it might not be all that useful for you. For example, have you ever lost 2 games or 3 games in a row and not been particularly tilted?
Yeah.
Have you ever won 2 games in a row and still been tilted?
Yeah.
Have you ever lost 1 game and been very tilted?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of just
don't serve the rule. Make the rule serve you. Let the rule be a guideline, but the goal is to use the rule to learn about the subject and then completely discard the rule. It doesn't apply to you anymore. You're not a moron, okay? I say 2 or 3 fight rule, or whoever else, whatever educational guy says that, to introduce the topic. But you're an old pro at this. You don't need that rule anymore. You understand what the meaning of that word is, or that term is, so you need to apply it. You need to be going, oh man, we're like 14 games in. I'm feeling kind of tired. We just won 17 games in a row going into yesterday, but I'm going to stop right now because I'm feeling tired. Not because, I'm scared I'm going to lose, but I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to what?
Like focus.
Right. So if you can't focus, there's no point playing. Even if you are able to roll the dice and win a bunch of games, right? What's the point? It's not doing you any good. So if you lose, and let's say you start off with 3 losses in a row, but you're like, hey, I'm warmed up. I'm focusing on my improvement. I'm not feeling particularly boomed. I'm not really distracted. Okay, keep playing, right? So if the goal for you is, if you want to be good at this game, not everybody has to do this, but this is your cross to bear, right? You need to be, the goal for you is to be more attentive and alert to your mental state. That's the goal. And to be honest with yourself and to push yourself, but to not push yourself to a point of breaking, where I shouldn't be tilted right now, so I'm gonna rake. No, you're an idiot. Like, listen to yourself, right? Because you know what? I've done the same thing. I've done the same thing way too many times. So that's the goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Okay.
It would be annoying to just lose 2 games at the beginning, but I feel like they were controllable losses, and I know like what I did wrong, so I'd want to keep grinding. But then, if I hop off, I can't really keep practicing. You're
noticing that both with your approach mentally and with the way that we're tracking your stats, we're shifting away from losses and wins being the metric, and more along the lines of whether you're focused on what you need to be focused on. That's the metric that counts. The stats that you're tracking, not just the win and loss, but more importantly, how focused were you? What were you focused on, right? The 2 to 3 loss rule, don't give a rip about whether you won or lost, but how are you feeling right now? How focused are you right now? How tilted are you right now? That's what we need to improve if we want to win games. You see what I'm saying? So let's not put the cart before the horse. Does that make sense?
I think the whole reason I started this thing, when the new rank system first came out, because it was 7 wins, I believe.
Oh yeah.
I remember the first season, because I dropped like really hard in Overwatch 1, so I think I was like basically the bottom of plat. And then as soon as Overwatch 2 came out, I immediately climbed back up to diamond.
Yeah.
But then I remember 5 rank ups in a row, I stayed diamond 5, and then another I stayed diamond 4. So I was like, what is happening? So I started just taking note of the win percentage, because I felt like that was the thing that would swing it the most.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, didn't I go like 7 and 4, but I stayed the same rank, or I went 7 and 2?
Right. Well, that's the thing.
That was the whole reason.
When there's the more men, but they are behind the curtain pulling Jimmy rigs and not telling you what's going on, the more like confused and frustrated and focused on matchmaker they are. That's why like the whole focus on matchmaker is so dangerous, because you're not always going to know what's going to happen, and it can be such a major distraction. For example, what we know is that Overwatch does not have perfect matchmaking. So what will happen is you'll enter a game at an MMR of like, let's say 3350 to use the metric of Overwatch 1, and your team is 3390 or 3400. So you might win that game, but the game isn't very impressed. You kind of see what I'm saying? Yeah, you're supposed to win that game, right? And that's why you have people going positive, but you don't always know that, right? That's the tricky thing. You don't always know that. You don't know which team had the advantage. I've seen people go 5-0 and not rank up. That's happened before as well. Now, That's the kind of thing to where like it could get really distracting. I mean, heck, even having the whole thing of like, oh, you need 5 wins or whatever. Oh, just one more game. I just need one more win. You know, like how many times has that happened, right? So like, there's so many like distractions. There's so much noise that, you know, maybe it pleases the casuals, maybe it doesn't please the casuals. It doesn't matter. You know what you need to be focusing on, and like, let's not pretend ourselves, lie to ourselves to say that it's not going to be a distraction. It's going to be a distraction, but can we minimize that distraction? That's the goal. 3 to 4 hours of Overwatch per day. I'm looking through your form here. Do you have any questions with all of that? I know that was kind of a long tangent, but I think it's important.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say for point number 6 of my notes for this season, I had to ship all my stuff over from overseas, so like I'm on like a laptop right now.
Yeah.
And just like I feel like because I have a very hard time seeing on this thing because it's very small compared to like, you know, my desktop monitor.
Yep.
So I feel like I don't have the confidence to take like flanks I would normally would because the aiming feels off.
Naturally.
And then like, yeah, I just have trouble seeing. So like I've been playing a little more passively than I'm used to, but it's just something like I don't feel like it doesn't feel right to play the same way because I can't see at all.
Okay, so here you're playing damage control. That's the worst possible thing you could be doing at this point in time. Because what's going to happen is you're going to come back to your desktop computer, and yeah, your aim's going to be back, but you're going to have built bad habits because you're too scared playing on your laptop. Like, here's the thing: you're playing at a disadvantage, right? You're going to lose duels because of your laptop. So the whole purpose of this is like, think of it as like you're wearing ankle weights in a marathon. You're gonna lose, mate. You're gonna lose, right? But the whole point, but if you're able to take that opportunity to train good form and to build extra muscle, not that I'm saying running ankle weights in the marathon is good, but you get what I'm saying, right? Use this as the opportunity to build the habit of I should be taking the flank in these circumstances. So when I actually get to in a good mechanical position with my desktop computer again, now I don't have to worry about relearning the game. I've been training and a couple of aspects of my gameplay so that I'm going to be like supercharged when I get back to the desktop. That's the goal, right? You know, it's like, you know, I might lose this duel because I'm on a laptop, but I know I should be taking this duel, and in the long run, that's what needs to be. Those are the habits that you need to be building. Don't have confidence that you're going to win the duel. Just have confidence that this is the right thing for the long term, for me improving. Okay, that's the big thing. Long-term, short-term goals: Grandmaster, play in a team environment, collegiate, high school.
So I'm coming back to school. Originally, my goal was to play for a university team until I realized that the university team that I was interested in is literally OWL players.
Yeah, that's always a bummer.
I think Romani is on that team and Zerocious, and I'm like, aren't those like top 500 player? I'm like, okay, never mind. I'm maybe just like a club or something.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. I did used to play in a team environment for a gaming community where I would scrim at least 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes more than that. Because just the team Overwatch is just felt completely different.
Yeah.
Like I played a tournament not like maybe a couple months ago, but it was an APAC tournament and we got fucking crushed.
Yeah.
Like the competition in Asia is so crazy, which is where I was. So
right.
I was playing like what I felt like was harder, more competitive games for the last 3 years.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. Cross that road when you get there. I think pursuing a team environment regardless is still really can be quite fun. So yeah. And then I guess the last question I have for you is warm up. What does a warm up look like if you were doing it the way that you think that you ought to be doing it? The one that works the most for you?
I think right now Kovacs plus quick play, because Kovacs doesn't really simulate. I think what would be it's just aiming. And quick play would kind of just be so. Right now, my plan is to do 15 to 20 minutes of Kovacs.
Okay.
And then followed up with maybe 2 to 3 quick play games.
Sure. So what I would recommend is unranked deathmatch or tryhard free for all if you can. I don't know if they had tryhard free for all on Korean servers or Asian servers, but I would try that one in custom game.
I'm not in Asia anymore.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like that might be a new thing for you, but if it might be it might be European servers, but I would still recommend it. Either that or unranked deathmatch, because you're, with all due respect, not a high enough rank to where unranked deathmatch isn't going to be at least halfway decent practice. So what I would do is if Kovacs works for you as like a good aim waker upper, and then you need something more in game, just replace the quick play with deathmatch. Faster respawns, more 1v1 practice. You're gonna get really good at landing your helixes, and that's what we want, right? So that would be my recommendation. A little bit more efficient.
Right.
Okay. Any questions before we, I guess, hop into gameplay here?
So because you guys are both coaches, how do you feel about Awkward's mentality for coaching? Because I've been watching a little bit of him, where it's like, oh, ignore your teammates, like whatever they're doing, it doesn't matter. Just focus on solely your gameplay. Like, what's like your stance on his coaching style?
What do you think my stance is?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think that I think it's a little bit of a caricature, where it's definitely going to be helpful for the vast majority of players. And I like the confidence that he exudes, and I like the fact that he's always encouraging his guys to focus on themselves and make sure that they're always maximizing their own value. But I do think it's one of those things where it's like, it's a little bit of an extreme, right? So if you want, if it's a debate about what's most effective for bronze players, I'm not going to get into that. His way might be the best and fastest way to do things. But for you, if you want to really improve, like, and level up your gameplay to understanding the game as a whole and what you need to be doing better, there are things that you can learn from him. But I would never, ever swallow the way that he teaches as a whole.
Okay. Good deal.
Yep. Do you want to shoot me a code? Okay, there you go. Got it. Perfect. Let me get this pulled up here. So I'm hoping that I don't have any issues pulling this one out, because, like I said, I have some internet issues. You want to hear something weird? So download speed is totally fine. However, upload speed is 5% of what it's supposed to be. So
like Spectrum.
Okay, you're freaking me out. It is Spectrum.
Yeah, because I have that same issue.
Really?
In Japan, I had fiber and it was so great, and I come back to this, it's terrible.
What state are you in?
California.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay, Spectrum apparently has its claws everywhere.
Another thing I wanted to bring up. So I'm trying to, because I know people focus on it too much. The scoreboard, it's kind of a distraction.
Oh yeah.
I've been like trying to focus away from it. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like this game in particular, I believe I want to say 26-7, which statistically sounds pretty good considering the other team is like very break even.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean anything.
It's way too easy. I made a whole video on this one about how, like, I always farm stats on tank, because I would always cut down on my what I would do is I was really smart of cutting down on avoidable deaths, with a few exceptions. But I also played very resource heavy, so my damage numbers would be high, my limb numbers would be high, and my deaths would actually be pretty low. But there would always be, like, I would look at my VODs and there'd be like 2 or 3 fights per game where I would single-handedly throw the entire team fight, and it would cost us games, right? So I would look at the game out of like these crazy stats, but I was costing us games from that. So I think, like, yeah, obviously what I would do with stats is I would ignore them if you can. The only useful stat I think that's worth looking at is probably your deaths, but even then that needs context, right? Like, it really needs context. For example, like, I was just giving you the example, like, I had really low deaths on tank, but that's because as soon as the fight was lost, I would peace out instead of dying on cart, right? That was a stylistic choice. Would it be more valuable to die on cart? Probably not. But if I had chosen to die on cart, that wouldn't have been a really major, like, I could have literally doubled my deaths, and yet it wouldn't have really had any meaningful impact on the game at all. So anyway, okay. Let me know.
This game in particular, I just wanted to start with this. I don't remember if I was mid-session or just started, but I think third round my shots felt kind of off.
Sure.
But I was focusing on, because this was the last match I had coaching, or last map I had coaching on, so I was specifically focusing on taking better angles.
Sure.
On this map particularly.
Koth is hard.
Right.
Yeah, hard, especially with Ashe, because it's hard, because, like, when you look at their comp, like, there's a lot of things that can really ruin you from taking angles here. And my first question is why are you so late from spawn? Oh, you're.
I was probably on my phone. I won't lie.
Maybe you should.
Stars brought up. I should not. I should be getting to the fight as soon as it starts.
Yeah, you should, and you should also try to be taking. If we want to talk about preventative action for tilt, you might want to write this one down. Get off your computer in queue if you can. Literally, get up. Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah, I just lay down.
Okay, that works. Maybe do a couple jumping jacks, punch the drywall. You know, do some heroin. You know, just normal grind set things.
Yeah.
Is this all Ashe or is this a mixture?
I know first and third was Ashe. I think second round I played. Actually, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think we stayed with this comfortable time.
Now, what do you think about this off angle? We'll focus on your position because that's what you're focusing on.
So I remember I wanted to poke at that Ana. I know I wasn't gonna like one-shot her from where I was, but I just wanted to poke her a little bit and then move in. And then since like ideally I'd want to be on the high ground, but my whole team is there, so I kind of wanted to off angle here.
Yeah.
And no one else can really see me from here.
So from here, you know, there would be a lot of spam and ram and all that kind of crap. So what I would recommend is my only problem with this off angle is can Genji dash onto you quickly and easily?
Yes.
Yes, I would say so too. So what I would do is if you were to make a small adjustment with your positioning, what would you do?
I would either go near the platform on the left side or
higher risk, higher reward, but at least you're a little bit further from the Genji. I don't know that I would recommend this one, but it's an option. I like the way that you're thinking. What is another option?
I was gonna say behind the pillar.
Sure.
To my left.
Now it sounds casual, but you know what? There's your angle. That's who you want to be shooting anyway, right? There's your Genji. Yeah. If Ram peeks, he gets his head blown off. And then obviously if you shoot Genji or Ram and they deflect or back up or whatever, what does that mean to you?
We just got space.
You can push forward and deepen your angle, right? But for right now, this doesn't feel entirely earned. This feels too close, too fast. I want you to take an angle, play your range. Then if you force cooldowns or deflect, or like even a deflect here, if you shoot this guy and he deflects here, then he cannot really safely dash on you, right? That's a key thing to point out. All right, let's keep watching. Good deflect, or a good dynamite, excuse me. Good. Nice. Now, this is the thing that is strange. Whoops, my settings are all blank. Because you have, I guess what I would say is you've won the angle, right? Right here, you've won the angle, right? So then now where should your rotation be towards?
I'm debating either go back to the high ground or rotate back to where I was beforehand.
Well, the problem with high ground is once again here, right? It's not really an angle. And again, look at the proximity between you and the Ram and the Genji and so on. So you know what you should do? What should you do?
I'll say maybe I could go back to where I was standing.
Right back to where you were standing and shoot again. Or maybe if you've seen deflector dash, deepen the angle again here. Because the problem here is, do you see how much more chaotic and stressful and difficult it is for you to do what you're doing right now? Bam, 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 right? It's stressful, it's hard to see, right? So take the angle. Do you see how little impact you've had from that position?
Right.
You haven't even scoped in. Good. I would work very carefully on my unscope into quick scope versus this hero. The problem with Tracer is you really don't want to be hard scoping. Why?
It's easier for her to hit you, to one clip you.
Right, so you spend more time in a very trackable location. So what's the problem with this in the micro?
I'm not sure what you mean by that, actually.
Look at this very, very slowly and tell me the micro errors that you point out. I can tell them to you, but I want you to think about them for a second. And it starts right here. So right here. Watch this.
While I'm scoping and she's dealing damage and I'm not.
That's a hard scope.
80 damage.
Right. So what should you have done in that brief half of a second instead?
I could have been either moving out of line of sight, or I could have been hip firing her and dealing damage to maybe force recall.
Correct. And if you are going to scope, how is it done?
I'm not sure. Sorry.
Sure, it's okay. What I would recommend you to do here is, as you said, unscope fire, move to cover. But if you're going to scope, it needs to be quick scope. Tap, 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 right? Tap the scope, click the shot very quickly. You cannot spend this long scoped in when she's actively firing a clip at you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Okay.
So even here, I might even consider coach gunning. I mean, you use the cover instead, which is fine, but I might have even used coach in here. Now you're here, you're fine, right? You might as well be scoped because you're not in any danger. But just a little detail, and that applies to Genji as well. You really do not want to be staying scoped in, either quick scope or unscope. Did he stick her?
I think he just shot her.
How did she not hear him? I have no idea. He wasn't even crouching. Okay, let's keep going. Dynamite's fine. Obviously, tank line is whatever, but you know it's all right. Intention is good. Intention is good, right? Yeah. This angle is good. This angle is good. Distance you're playing here as well is really important, because if you played closer, what would be the problem? What would you be doing right now if you were any closer?
Probably getting shot by Tracer or being hit by the ram.
You're talking about what would be happening to you, but what would you be doing?
Oh, I would probably be shooting the supports if I was up top.
Okay, if you were up top, but I'm saying if you had not backed up to here, let's say that you were here, what would you be doing?
Oh, probably running.
Running, right? So you play your range. When stressful things happen, you continue to shoot. Good. Good rotation. Yeah, this is good. Okay, let's keep going. Good dynamite. Definitely an awkward position, right, where your ram is holding, because you're like, are we fighting here? Are we fighting here? Are we fighting here? Not really your fault. Good dynamite. Unfortunate that I think it gets Suzu there or something. Good shot there. I mean, one headshot on that Genji. I mean, look at what happens. He wants this blade, right? Bam, he's out, right? Totally ruined, right?
If I remember correctly, my Bob usage here was not the best.
Yeah, okay, it's tricky now because there isn't really a good bob angle from this position right here. So here's the way that you can look at this. You can look at this and be like, I wanted you to bob when they actually push, right? Whether that's blade, nano blade, whatever, okay? The other way that you could look at this and be like, okay, they have nano blade. We were going to lose this fight if we didn't kill somebody immediately. This is smart.
Right.
So I don't think... Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I hate Genji a lot. I hate projectile heroes, like, a lot, since I'm mostly hit scan.
Yeah.
And one thing that Star, and I think someone else who like spoke with me about it, is like, well, like, you know, they have nano blade, so you either need to force something out, you like force their ultimates, or maybe shut down the nano blade before it happens.
Sure.
Typically that's kind of hard because Ana will just like play in the back.
Sure.
Just nano, and then
but you hit the Genji.
Correct.
Right. So now let's put it this way: if this was a big brain play by you, then this was a big brain play by you. If this is a I'm just going to use my bob here, then this is not a very good play. Basically, given the old situation, if that's what you were tracking, it's a great play. Best play you could have made. Bam. Right? We take it. Because now they're in a really bad spot, right? Now you're getting... Right, last fight territory, they just got another stagger. They might not even be able to set up the nano blade they want to. And you're definitely going to get OT.
Oh, I remember what happens here.
Man, this is fine. You got OT. Woo! Nice. That was good. Very, very good. Probably best case scenario, all things considered. I mean, not best case scenario, but you know, it was a good scenario that just happened there. Okay. Suffering. Yeah, it's all fine. Good angle here. I don't love the blind dynamite here. This one felt like you were just kind of dynamiting for the sake of dynamiting. And if that was aimed for Ram, then that's a terrible choice for dynamite. I would have preferred you just to save it, you know? It hits the Genji, which is exactly, like, that's amazing. But I was a little bit fortunate, right? Okay. Yep. Huge. Very nice. Good position as well, right? Nice and safe, right? Your desire as Ashe is just like to set your feet, you know? If I can set my feet and relax, then I'm gonna win. The enemy team knows that, and so it's gonna try to prevent that from happening. So your job is gonna be basically a push and pull of trying to get what you want to relax and them trying to stop you from relaxing. Good bob angle, and that's gonna be it. Okay, yeah, so far, what are you seeing that looked okay? What needed a little bit of work?
Besides the micro against the tracer, because I think that's a good point, and I've never really thought about it like that. Just maybe like a slight difference on where I could be standing. Like when I rotated back after the Genji dashed at me, I could have taken a better spot. Instead, I chose the safer one. Maybe I could be. It's just like, even though it was like maybe like a second walk away, I could have been in like a slightly better position. Sure.
Okay, let's keep watching. Obviously, you weren't put under a lot of pressure because you guys won fairly decisively. So we will see how this round goes, and I assume this round starts to feel a little bit messier.
Yeah, the first fight up here, I think I was missing quite a bit, but I probably could have been in a better spot.
Right here. You see this? Definitely your best position on first fight.
I have a bad feel. I normally don't stand there because like it's like a small window, so it's easy for someone to hit you. So I tend not to stand there. But
who to hit you?
Like if yeah, that's true. No one can really pressure me. Maybe Sojourn if she had high charge.
Sure.
I don't really know they have a Sojourn at this time, so
right.
I could be at least standing there. Yeah.
So what I would do is I would roll out here, and then I see Hanzo or a Widow or maybe an Ashe, and you're like, I don't want to, you know, Zen starts throwing right clicks this way. You don't have to stay here. But my point is that you need to choose a neutral rollout on Koth that gives you options. I don't hate this position. It's not the worst position in the world, but it's I definitely think that given the circumstances, this is the best position you need to do. But this kind of goes into what I'm saying, right? Where like you're going to this game and you need to be like theory testing and theory crafting and limit testing, excuse me. Your positioning, your different angles that you could take, because you don't learn anything from this position. You know this isn't optimal, right? You know this isn't optimal, right? At least not permanently. Maybe you're here to throw a big AoE dynamite. All right, there we go. But then where's next, right? So like, try here, and then, you know, coach can. What about coach getting up to here? I think you can sit here, right? So try that, you know. Okay, right. The fact that you don't know, it tells me all I need to know, right? Right? Like, what about like, you know, I don't know, over here? Is this too far out in the open? What about over here? All the way like right here, peeking here, you know? What about if you like snuck up behind here, saved your coach gun dynamite backline and coach out? You know what I'm saying? My point is that there's a lot of options. Because even though the dynamite is good, it's like because you can't see it because you're on main, it's like eh. Small detail. First thing first, what about the micro of your positioning could be improved? If you were to play here, where should you be?
I think you can stand on those little walls, the side walls right there.
Right here?
Probably could be up
sure
there.
Could.
Yeah.
Sure could. How about this? Right here. Better cover, no?
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
It's just like, can you really see anyone from there?
Sure can. See the exact same amount of people that you could see from here. The only difference would be the BAP jumping, right?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, the video quality is a little low. It's hard to.
Yeah, the
really it's hard to see.
Bit rate of stuff. So there's a lot going on here. So if you could see here that should be good enough, no? So that's the goal. Okay. Now, in addition to that, if you are able to set your feet and shoot, I don't want you 80-80 strafing. All right, so there's nothing that can shoot you right if you're holding this position, and I want you to watch your hitbox here. You see the problem with this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, think carefully. Who's shooting you at this point in time?
I saw a couple Genji shurikens, but that was about it.
Right, nothing really significant. So then what is this 80-80 strafing doing to your mechanics?
Oh yeah, it's kind of throwing it off.
Right,
so there's no threat.
Right, so now there's going to be threat sometimes. There's going to be, Sojourn's going to have rail. You know, Genji's going to be starting to throw shurikens your way, right? Then you're going to have to react. But I want you to be reacting to what threats are on your screen, and not to be, like, you need to be, at this point in time, the best thing you could have done is held this corner here and stood perfectly still until that Sojourn had rail, or until the Genji started throwing shurikens your way, right? As soon as it happens, you start to 80-80 strafe, you start to jiggle peek, you start to crouch a little bit maybe. But right now, there's no reason for you to be doing this. You're throwing off your aim, and you're also too far from a corner. Does that make sense?
I think it's the, oh, you shouldn't be standing still mentality, but right, if nothing to threaten me, then there's no reason I shouldn't be able to just,
right.
You know, focus on me.
It's like the 2 to 3 fight rule, like where you were like, oh, I have to stop, or excuse me, 2 to 3 loss rule, where you're like, oh, I have to stop. But like the idea is to get bronze players to stop standing still, right, and moving in one direction. But you're not a bronze player, so you can learn the exception to that rule. This is the exception to that rule. Good Dynamite. Obviously, this positioning is just so unbelievably stressful, but that goes without saying at this point. Yeah, okay. Better off angle, tighter micro, not moving unnecessarily when we don't need to. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. High risk, high reward. I'm okay with it. My one concern is maybe it's very close, right? However, you have a big dynamite, so maybe it's okay. Timing will be good here. What do you think? Yes, no, about that play?
Kind of messy.
Kind of messy. Was it high risk, high reward?
Yeah.
Yes.
I got Bap away from the team. Now he's on the low ground in the middle of point, and
right.
he can't heal his ram.
Right.
But I'm also now standing in a ramble, and I think Sojourn was chasing me.
Yeah. My point is this: is I don't mind high risk, high reward plays. I hate high risk, medium reward plays, or high risk, low reward plays. Right? If you take a flank like that, and you're thinking I might get a 4 or 5 man dynamite, or I might be able to assassinate that Baptiste, that's fine. That's fine. Make it make sense though. Now my question is, was there another play that you could have gone for as well? Like what was your other option? If you don't go here, obviously you can't go here. So what was your other play?
Rotate right.
Right. Okay. Where from here? Here?
No. Further.
Like here?
Mini right there. Yeah, maybe there, because there's a mini to the right.
Ah, yeah. And your team can theoretically see you as well, right? Right here, right? Yeah.
They can see me, but we have Brig Moira, so I don't think they'd be able to.
Maybe get a pack, maybe. But yeah, this one also feels relatively high risk, high reward. Yeah, a little bit more isolated, but a little bit further away. I'm okay with this play too. Make a play. I mean, like, listen, as long as you get, at least there's a reward for the risk you take, then it's always going to be good. And you still might live this. Yeah, see? There you go. Perfect. Now I would want you, I was gonna say rotate right here where you have a better sight line here, better angle. Oh dear. Good Bob. Maybe winnable. Oh, scary. Maybe we win. Good Dynamite. I might get out of here. Yeah. Hold the angle. Yeah, see, this is all like outside of some mechanical stuff. This has all been fairly reasonable. Fairly reasonable. Let's keep watching. I feel like we're paying attention with our dynamites. Is there any more Ashe in here? Or is this all? Is that all for Ashe? Okay, that's all for Ashe. Okay. Let's look at just a few fights. Do you have time to go a little bit over?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure that my next session is aware. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look. Would you like to look at some Soldier or Cassidy? Because we probably only have time for one or the other.
The Cassidy.
Okay, sounds good. Let's take a look. So for Ashe, so far, what were you seeing as being problems or things to work? We talked about the micro versus the tracer, obviously, but what else?
Yeah, definitely the strafing when it wasn't really necessary. So if it was like that was the thing that Star has been focused on a lot. He's like, who can threaten you, and if so, how does that change the way I play? Because definitely against the tracer, that makes sense. I wasn't really doing anything while she's shooting me. I could have been shooting her with a hipfire.
Yep.
And then I'm messing up my aim when I'm already at a disadvantage, so I don't want to give myself more of a disadvantage.
What about your positioning?
It could have been better. The rotations, I could have had a better rotation. Maybe on a different angle or a slightly higher on the higher ground. It could have just been better.
Okay. How does that look in your Discord?
Oh wait, okay. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I think just simply asking yourself, is there a better position or is there a different angle that I could try? Like the point is that we don't want you to memorize set positions. We want you to look at the comp, look at the situation, and react, right? With what's given, right? Sometimes deeper flanks will be good. Sometimes deeper flanks will be bad. Depends on the composition, depends on the situation. Your job is to get yourself more attuned and in tune to paying attention to those sort of things and then living with the result. That's the goal. Okay, let's, any questions?
Right now, no.
Okay, let's finish this up. Shorter range hero.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, this was quite messy.
Nice. This angle is now yours. I would not hesitate to throw my nade in these circumstances. There is nothing for you to save grenade for in this circumstance. So if you can combo this into an E and hinder this BAP, slow him down, and obviously the burst damage of the grenade itself, you will force lamp, I promise you. Plus shift. And will you need that nade for anything else?
I would say maybe against Reaper, but he just uses Wraith, so right now, no.
And you still have your rollback to cover to safety if anything pushes you. So I'm not saying use your nade off of cooldown. Don't, but seriously put some thought into it, right? It's a phenomenal 1v1 tool. Like even there, right? But the problem is that you you throw it and then you look away at who you threw it at, right? Like you were totally fine with your HP. Nice. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say here. This angle is dominating. Again, yes, just use it. Good. I would consider flanking left. Yeah, look at you. Even calling out the countdown. Nicely done. Do it again.
I have that found in my comp wheel.
Yeah, I would do it again. Like, there's nothing that's gonna one-shot you here. So just do it again. Peek with your nade, you know? I know you're at a lower HP, but I wouldn't go all the way back to my team necessarily here. Look at you. Watch this. Watch your movement. Keep watching. You see it? You're doing it.
Yeah, I know Cassidy, I've been focusing on that more. But Ashe, yeah.
Unfortunate. Good. The body shot bandit. Let's go. That's okay. That's me too.
I don't know if it's a resolution thing.
Could be.
I play on 1080 and this laptop I'm on is 2K. It definitely felt really weird playing for the first time. like how aim feels.
Could be.
It feels weird still.
It could be. It could be as simple as like, if this continues to be a problem with you, like as corny as it sounds, aim for the head. You know, like really consciously focus on like, I am going to aim for the head. It's important because, you know, as you get better at the game, people's cover usage and responsiveness is going to improve. So the value of burst, even if you miss more shots, is going to be much more important. That nade is stupid, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because like, you got to be thinking like it's not the longest cooldown in the history of the universe, but the fact that you don't have nade right now is probably why you're running back towards your team and not holding this off angle. Right? Well, who cares, right? You still got your roll, you still got your nade, you're on an angle. Like a calling Moira she could die, right? And this Sojourn coming here, right here, she's popping her ult, she's dead. She's dead if you have your nade here, right? Hold the angle. I mean, this is crazy. You should die. Yeah, I was gonna say you should die. Yep. Okay, let's get forward a little bit. I'm actually
how we lost this game.
Junk Reapers. So you're the sniper man. You can hinder this if you wanted to. Yep. I mean, I just. You're just a little slow to get healed, to be honest with you. I don't think this was necessarily your fault. Here's what happens, all right? You take an angle, you use your nade on the Ramatra, all right? That helps a lot. It forces this block, it forces lamp. It wasn't a wasted nade. At the same time, Reaper pushes you. You roll a little slow. Maybe you could have been tighter to cover here. Your Brig either doesn't pack you or doesn't have pack. She misses her pack. Okay, so she misses her pack, I think, on your Moira, and then you get popped. Maybe she does hit your pack. Regardless, it's not enough to keep you alive. You rotate away from Reaper because you don't have roll, you don't have stick. It's fine. It's fine. This is one of the deaths where I'm like, I can live with that, you know? Now, you have Noon here. Make a play here. What do you think?
Looking at it now, yes. Did I do it? I don't think I did.
No, but what could you do?
I could, if I take a aggressive angle and I high Noon, I could probably give space to my team and force lamp.
I mean, I see this right here. Oh my, like nothing is going to punish you for nooning over here. In worst case scenario, they're going to try to push you. You're going to roll out. You're going to grab Mega, and you're going to have sticky grenade. Like I think, especially in this circumstance here, nice shot. Lame nade.
Yeah,
super lame.
I'm a bad habit of doing that.
Well, it's funny because the first thing that we said about your nade is that you should have used it in a 1v1 with the BAP, but then in these circumstances, like you're just using it on a ram, frontlining that when there's like actual no trade going on here. And again, I think that left angle is something that you could have or should have been able to take. I would not be scared of pushing this guy. If you know where he is and you have your cooldowns, don't be scared. Because like right there, you're at an advantage in this 1v1. You know where he is. He's not sure if you're going to push him. He's taking damage. You can grab Mega, or you know, just walk this way. You have your cooldowns. You can win that 1v1.
Yeah, just a confidence thing right now.
It's like fine. It's just like such a. It just that your positioning is not giving you like any option. I mean, look at you, right? Like you get discouraged from the off angle. You don't even want to take this angle. Then like, oh man, like I feel like I'm gonna sound like Star here, but like this is rough.
Yeah.
You know, you're having no impact whatsoever in this fight at all. So I mean, that's it right there. Okay. Let's stop there. So for Cassidy. What are you thinking? What needs to be improved?
Nade usage. The off angle. Yeah, I'm still like.
Well, what about the nade usage? I'm sorry to interrupt, but what about the nade usage?
Oh, I mean, like in those times that you said I was using, I was literally just chucking them just to chuck them. Like I was just using it without a thought.
Work on using to win 1v1s or hold to deter people who may dive you. Right? You holding nade can be value if they're running like Trace or Genji, because that's what prevents them from playing the way that they want to play. But if there's nothing that's going to immediately dive you, then you should be using it to win 1v1s and not, you know, ornamental things to throw across the map. Okay, what else?
If I have my cooldowns, like I should be able to win a 1v1.
Playing.
Yeah, I'm still not confident right now on that, and my stuff won't get here for another 2 weeks, so it's gonna be a bit for that. But I mean, I don't want to build that bad habit either, so I should be taking it.
Right. Okay, what about those 3 points in your Discord? What do you think?
I think they're pretty good.
Okay. Key thing for you is working on them in one at a time if you can, or if you said if you can group them as you were saying earlier, that's fine too. What were you saying? I think I interrupted you.
So for the Cassidy, when I'm aiming, I'm more likely to stand still. I think it's because Ashe, since she's a sniper, when you're standing still, because you're scoped in, you move away slower. So like Cassidy's strafe is faster than hers.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Definitely me standing still when there was no, because Sojourn didn't have her rail, so standing still was fine. But on Ashe, I wasn't doing it.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, do you have any questions?
At this time, no, I do not.
Okay, if you have any questions, you can shoot me a message.